Welcome to Mr. Wilson Live. It's another Sunday evening, and we're just days away from the first CXC exam that comes up sometime the 24th, the 14th of June. We're expecting to get the broad topics tomorrow, which is, of course, the 10th. But many a person would have seen what appears to be the broad topics would have been published from sometime Friday night. I have seen many of vloggers, including myself, would have made available the content that was available to us. We're still waiting to see tomorrow if there's going to be a different document. But we got that document and we have enough reason to believe that that's the document because the document was published in Guyana by somebody with some more power and authority than most of the vloggers. Good evening, and of course, welcome to another Mr. Wilson Live. I have been showered with a number of questions as to how best we could interpret what was sent to us from CXC, if that is actually the document that we got Friday night into Saturday, how best to interpret it and what we should be expecting on the examination. Now, for me, I am not disappointed with what I saw. I was, of course, expecting the end part of the syllabus, disease, sewage treatment, water, all of that. I was, of course, expecting variation based on how I've seen the exam set over the years. The part that fell in the middle, I am not really disappointed. If you observe, while we practice for the exam through Mr. Wilson Live, I was very careful to try to cover the entire syllabus and not to sit and wait for CXC to send us a broad topic. The CXC would have reminded us that the multiple choice exam is going to be on the entire syllabus. I don't know that you can study the entire syllabus for a multiple choice and you would not have retained information to do a paper two. So yes, it is important for us to know what is on the paper two or have an idea of what is on the paper two because we really can't know. Now, there are many persons I would have seen earlier in my life just before I came on where persons were asking if I'm going to say what topics will be on the exam. Just let me let you know this and let me make this very clear. I am not an employee of CXC. I don't know what will be on the exam. What we tend to do as educational vlogger is to look at trend, and based on the trend we make our prediction. Our prediction might be spot on, our prediction might be off, right? Like I could have said long before CXC that we're going to be having sewage on it, we're going to be having disease on it, we're going to be having continuity and variation. I knew that these would have been there. As to what would have fell in the life processes, I really don't know what would have come then, but we have a lot to look at today. Now, yes, I have gone through the document that I have seen, and I'm still waiting to see if tomorrow a different document will come. But providing the document that we have is that document, I am going to be telling you or try to interpret what was sent to us. I'm also going to be sharing with you on some disease. I want you to tell me though in the chat, I did send some video link for some diseases. Have you received them? I placed them in the chat earlier. Have you seen them? Just tell me yes or no. Yes or no, have you seen these links? All right, good. So we're looking at a better way to chart this final part to the exam. So what you'll find me doing, rather than going through and presenting my content, which might take a little longer time, I will, oh no, so it is somewhere up in the chat there. So those persons who would not have seen, I would have sent video links on ringworm, the plague. I would have also sent video links on, I think, at least foot. I didn't send anything on thrush, but we are going to be looking at that. So I did send those on Electropyrosis. I did send those links for you to watch these videos. Now, what you can do, and I find that I have to be telling persons how to use YouTube, and I'm always going to be doing that because YouTube is as good as any platform to use to teach. ask the students who have been teaching a year now. Amoy, Tanisha, a couple other persons. I really don't like calling name, Macmillan, and the list go on and on. And they'll tell you that they have been learning a lot. So I'm just going to be giving you a very quick roundup as to how to access information, being that we're on the, in Jamaica, I would say the last paratus. So we're on the last leg of exam preparation. So I'm going to be telling you how to use your favorite YouTube channel. It might be mine, it might not be mine. I'd be happy if it's mine. And when you watch the video, you give the video some love as well. I would love that. So let us get, firstly, before I get into the content of the day, let us get into how to use YouTube to find the content. All right? So you have to follow me on your screen because I'm going to tell you where to find what. All right? Great. So when you're watching your favorite video, to the top part of the video somewhere up here, to the top right, you'll see a little white button with an inverted exclamation sign. It will give you a suggested video that you can watch after the one that you are watching. Be that you are watching one of Mr. Wilson paper 2, you are watching the first part of the paper 2, the first 3 questions. Then if you move up to that link up the top, it will give you the other 3 questions in most cases, or link you to another past paper or to the playlist for the past paper. Outside of doing that, in finding the suggested video, at the end of all my videos, you are going to find 2, 3, 4 other suggested videos on your screen. And for me, in most cases, it's a playlist, right? So if you click on that, you would have found a playlist for probably past papers, or probably some content that I presented, or probably Mr. Wilson Live. Now, that's for the end of the video. So the part at the top here, we call it an end card, and then we have the end screen. If you look down to the bottom left, the bottom right of your screen right there, you will see a yellow icon that says CSEC Biology TCP. You click on that icon and you're able to subscribe to the channel. If you look below the video that you are watching now, just below, you will see 2 thumbs, one down and one up. If you click on the thumbs up, it's kudos to me, video that you like. When you click on that thumbs up, what will happen is that the particular video that you are watching will be saved to an independent playlist. So when you go into the back end of your YouTube channel, you'll see that video that you like and you're able to access it. All right, great. Now, if you look to the right, just below your YouTube screen, below the video screen you're watching now, you'll see 3 little buttons that we refer to as ellipses, or persons might say 3 little full stops, or 3 full stop. If you were supposed to click on those full stop, you will see something that says open transcript. You can click on that and open transcript. Now, be that is Mr. Wilson Live, that is sometime a 2-hour video, or used to be a 2-hour video, you could look at the timestamp at the side there for the transcript, and you could click at the part of the lesson that you want to get into to immediately access it, rather than just going through and shipping backward and forward to find your way along. So that is one way to find the information. Many students wrote to me asking me, where do I find the past paper? How do I find the past paper? Yes, it is true that you might see something that come up on the suggested screen when you log on to YouTube, but you'd never ever find all the videos for any creator. I have over 200 videos online. To find my 200 videos, all you need to do, look to the left over there. You are going to see a blue circle that says CSEC Biology TCP. Click on that circle and it should take you to the back end of my channel. When you get to the back end of the channel, all you need to do is to click on video or click on playlist, and you should be able to access the content. All right. Now, what I have done recently for you, what I've done for the bio student, and I'll be doing it for the HSB student as well. I have not yet filtered my live, but what I've done based on the videos that I've had and what CXC sent as a broad topic, I have placed in a file called Biology Exam 2021, something to that order, 35 videos to assist you with your preparation for CXC. Now, when I have my live, I might not go through the entire content as I would have before. I might give you shorter video from some other creator, right? My interest here is to prepare you for the exam. I would love for you to watch my videos, but there are some videos that I naturally don't have or don't have as yet. So when we do that, I want you to scroll on up, look for the video, watch the video, and remember whichever creator it is, be it me or some other person, give the creator some love. It is the love that you offer the creator that allows the creator to continue creating and also to be encouraged to continue. You don't have to ask me how to give the creator love. If you're a avid YouTube fan, you'd understand what giving a creator love is. So give the creator some love. So beautiful. That was a 101 lesson on YouTube, how to find the information. And when you find the information, make sure you give your favorite video a thumbs up, that it will go into your playlist. All right. So we have a very interesting lineup this evening. We're a little here and a little there. We're going to be looking at biology, as it were, for the broad topics. We're going to be looking at HSB, as it were, for the broad topics. And I'm going to be just giving you a little bit about disease that are spread by contact. I'm going to be giving you the diseases that are spread by contact, as it were, for the syllabus. In some cases, I'm not going to be going in depth, so you're going to be required to look at those videos or continue the reading. Now, our video this evening are our exploits in the last couple of weeks. Sir, when will you be doing graphs? Oh, I don't know. Probably you're going to find graph over by my paid channel, but I'll try to get something in. Over by my paid channel, tcp-academy.teachable, you'll find some things over there. Everything is not there yet. We're still working on the channel, but I think we're going to be finding some information over there. All right, so I'm not too sure, but I'll definitely, if it's even just to talk about graph one day, I'll do that. And if I don't, just keep reminding me, and I will just do it. All right, cool. But I'll give you something, probably not everything, but enough for you to get into the exam. And by this, you would have known that the HSB exam, usually there is a graph somewhere there I would need to treat with it. All right, great. So the first list of diseases that we could look at, we should look at, yeah. The first list of disease that we want to look at, as it were, for contact, are those sexually transmitted disease. I am not going to be going into the sexually transmitted disease, as we are going to go back into the syllabus to look at HIV and other. We're going to be looking at those as a topic. So I'm just going to name them now. So you tell me a sexually transmitted disease that is contact. Tell me in the chat there, whichever one you can recall. And there are many. All right, so while I wait on you to tell me what's the sexually transmitted disease that you know, I will remind you that we have been doing well with the diseases. Should take us to the end of disease, as it were, with vector. The next thing we're going to be looking at, we're going to go back into the syllabus and we're going to be looking at hygiene. We're also going to be telling you some diseases that we did not cover, or some things that we haven't covered if we can't cover it. Before I leave this evening, ensure that I give you a video on sewage treatment, because water or sewage is going to be on the exam, and I want to ensure that we top off everything. All right, so remember that your exams begin on the 14th, and you are supposed to be studying for the entire exam, the multiple choice. Make sure you practice a minimum of 5 years worth of multiple choice paper. And if you can do paper 2 and find questions that are matching to those related to the broad topics that were sent by CXC, that would have been nice. So I'm looking at my screen and I'm seeing gonorrhea, I'm seeing herpes, I'm seeing syphilis, I'm seeing HIV, and yes, pretty much those are 4 that we can think of very, very quickly that are transmitted by contact. Gonorrhea, we should know by now, is a zoonosis. Now, what is a zoonosis? A zoonosis is a disease that is able to transfer from animal to man or from man to animal. So gonorrhea is one of those. Dogs are usually often affected by gonorrhea. Hi, Amoy. Thank you. How you doing? Welcome. Sir, can you explain why some STI are venereal? All right, tell you what. We're going to be looking at STIs exclusively, a little more than we did in reproduction, which we must look at because it's in the broad topic, and I'll treat with that then. All right, great. So what we want to look at today is fungal disease. That's what we're going to be starting. And I would have sent you a video just now to look at pubic lice. All right, I sent you a video just now about ringworm. So we want to look at ringworm a little bit. We want to look at athlete's foot a little bit, and we want to look at thrush a little bit. Now, ringworm is a fungal disease, right? So a fungal disease is usually passed on by a fungus. Yes, the exam begins on the 14th. I don't even remember which exam it is, but I know on the 14th. Now, ringworm usually affects some special area in the body, but ringworm could affect just about anywhere. If you are going to a hairdresser or a barber or a pedicure person, I don't know what they are called, you could pick up ringworm there. And you catch this ringworm if you can type in the chat here. This is one of those classes that you can just keep typing. Just say what you have to say in the chat. I might not necessarily see, but other person will see. So you can just keep typing. You can flow. Don't worry about me. This class is for that today. All right? Great. So ringworm can be found pretty much anywhere on your skin, but usually it is found in areas that come in contact with the pathogen or areas that are not properly dried after you would have had a shower. Some places would have include places like under the arm, between the legs, and that's the upper part of the leg. These areas are usually moist, and of course, you can be exposed to the pathogen that way, and of course, have the ringworm being physically evident on the skin. Now, upper part of the leg and under the arm. Now, one might say that athlete's foot is a special type of ringworm, and the athlete's foot tend to appear between the toes. And this too can be as a result of excess moisture between the toes. Now, the spread of ringworm, like we said before, is by contact. All right. And if it's by contact, it could mean that you wearing my shirt or we're sleeping in the same bed, or I touch you or you touch me, or pretty much the spores are pretty much on the floor or in the room or in the air or in the dust. That type of a thing could cause the spreading of ringworm. Now, how do we know if we have ringworm? If we have a ringworm, we will have this reddish patch, and I refer you to the video I sent earlier because it's in that video. We could have some reddish patch, and usually the center part of it, depending on your skin color, might appear a little white. Now, you are going to be having itching, and that is symptom. So if we talk about patches here, we're talking about signs. And if we talk about the symptom, we're going to be talking about itching, or what some persons call here in Jamaica, my skin is scratching me, but itching, that type of thing. How can we treat with ringworm? Please don't tell me about that ointment that I've been hearing about ever since I was a little boy. And you can buy it and rub it on anything. I have never ever seen it cure anything, and it is still in the pharmacy. Please don't call the name of that ointment. It starts with some double something. Don't say Mr. Wilson said, but I've never seen it cure anything. All right. So we use some special ointment. Usually there are some that are prescribed by doctors, and we tend to wash the body well, bathe properly, dry the skin, make sure that the sweat is properly removed and all of that. You can use antifungal ointment, as is said there in the chat, and of course, dry the skin properly, and most of all, practice good hygiene. Do not allow that person who has this fungal infection, because you love this person, you're afraid to tell them, hey, you need to see the doctor to get that under control. Because if you don't, it's quite likely that you will be suffering from that condition pretty soon. So once a person has, anyone who would have had an infection that is transmitted, by contact, of course, you could have this infection anytime soon. So antifungal ointment. Now there's another thing about, remember you can type this evening. This evening is like freelance. Type if you need to answer somebody's question, you can do it in the chat. All right, great. That's what we're doing this evening. Now there are some cases of ringworm, of fungus, not ringworm. There are some cases of fungus that might be a little more than just rubbing the ointment on the skin, and the doctor might have to prescribe some tablets for you. So when you have any form of ailment that is outside of a common cold, you probably need to visit your doctor to ensure that what you're seeing and what you would have diagnosed for yourself, it is what it is. But I suggest that you seek help from a medical professional. Then there is thrush. And everybody could tell you, when I was growing up, they talk about thrush, as it were with babies. And thrush tend to affect the membranes of the mouth, or affect the membrane of the mouth. And it tend to have some gray spot depending on the color of the skin that would appear within this region. It mostly affects children or baby. All right. Be careful. I did not say that bio or HSB will be on the 14th. I said that CXC will start on the 14th. As it were, for when the exam will start, I have published at least 2 videos on that. You could ask in the room or somebody will tell you. I really don't remember. I don't remember some things, all right? So just check one of the video or ask in the room and somebody will answer you. If you don't know when is your exam, everybody here is doing pretty much the same exam, so they'll tell you. All right. So thrush tend to affect mostly babies, and it is as a result of bottles not being properly sterilized. It happens for those persons who know we always have bikes passing by. All right. So when the bottles are not properly sterilized, you wash the bottle. Yeah, that is good, but you need to take them through some heat treatment. Once this is not done properly, then the baby could be exposed to gastroenteritis, or you might find that the baby have it's called a thrush. And of course, it is a yeast infection. Now, as to the cure, I'm going to ask Amoy to help me with the cure here. How do we treat thrush? When I was growing up, I think they said that you must dilute a little Listerine and rub it on the baby tongue or something like that in the baby mouth. Can anybody tell me what is the practice in your region, or what do you know about thrush? How is it taken care of wherever you are from? All right. Remember, as it were, for any of these fungal infection, it's very important that you practice good hygiene to include athlete foot. Wearing socks in your shoes is very, very important, because as you wear your shoes, then you have dead cells in the shoes, then you have the sweat in the shoes, so that is an highly nutrient-filled area. So when you put your little feet inside those shoes, what will happen is that the pathogen will say, wow, I have more food. And now they start on your feet, and then you know what will happen. You have legs that are all filled with athlete foot and different type of fungus it might be. Now we want to look at rats. See, I'm going very, very fast this evening. We want to look at rats. And if you started out the content here with me, or started studying HSB with me, you would have heard me talking about things like the liger. You would have heard me talking about the donkey. You would have heard me talking about the mule and the horse and all of that. But we're talking then about species, right? So follow the chat there. There are persons who are giving you information. They are giving you information. So ask a question, your friends here will answer. All right. So then we were talking about species, which usually end with a S. We sometimes call it species. And we spoke about 2 types of rat. We spoke about ratus, which is a black rat. And we spoke about ratus narvinchicus, which is a brown rat. Now, just let us remind ourselves here. Ratus, the first ratus, is the gene name, or genus. And the second ratus is the species. Remember, King Pharaoh called all female general softly. We talk about classification of organism. Then we have the Ratus narvinchicus, and you observe they have the same genus name, but the species name is different. Ratus narvinchicus. So these 2 organisms, they are not able to interbreed because they're of different species. And that is why we no longer can say that it's a monkey is a child's father, or the dog is, the puppy is a man's child. That can't happen because they're of different species. All right, good. And when we have different species, one might go to the donkey and the horse, creating the mule. You know that the mule is not a viable offspring. It can't produce viable offspring because it wasn't from parents that are from the same species. But where am I going with rats? Your syllabus wants us to know about rat as it did for houseflies and, of course, mosquitoes. In Jamaica now, we're having, are suspected that we're going to be having an increase of dengue. So remember, Labor Day in Jamaica, the government is asking you to stay home and clean up your surrounding. Let me get back to the rat. So we have ratus and we have ratus narventicus. We have the black rat, which is the ratus, and we have brown rat, which is the ratus narventicus. Now, these rats, they are responsible for some major problems They're responsible for some major problems with human. Now, Rattus, which is a black rat, is usually found around ports, seaport. And then the Rattus navincicus, they tend to be found where there is sewer main, but they are also found wherever we have food store. So now we're going to be talking a lot about the rat and, of course, how to protect ourselves from the various diseases that are associated with rats. Now, one of the big things we know about, and I sent it to you earlier, is the plague. I won't be saying much on the plague. The plague is caused by bacillus, bacteria. All right? And it is, of course, found in the rat blood. If a rat becomes infected, I'm not saying that a healthy rat has the plague, but if the rat is infected by the plague, the rat will have that pathogen. Now, the rat will have on it what's referred to as fleas or other sucking insect. And what is likely to happen is that they will feed on the rat. And in feeding on the rat, what is likely to happen is that they are now going to be infected. They will be infected by the blood from the rat. Now, this infection will probably cause a rat to live probably 2 weeks, a little short time, and then the rat will, of course, die. And what will eventually happen is that the pathogen will multiply and it can be passed on through droppings, or it could be passed on by the flea or the mite moving on, biting a human. And then what will happen is that we have this pathogen moving and moving and moving. Now, it is going to cause some real problem for human. It could cause actually the pneumonia plague. It could damage the lungs. It could damage other parts of the body that you'll find in the video. So in order for us to rid ourselves of disease like the plague, it's very important that we are able to control rats, control the rat population. It's very important that we control proper hygiene. We could, of course, eliminate rats. You know, I don't like to talk about elimination because that pretty much breaks the food chain. We could immunize. Immunization is a very good prophylaxis, as that will prevent you from being infected by the plague. Of course, there's also drugs that you could take in the early part of the infection, and this will, of course, prevent you from being exposed to some of these problems that are associated with the rat. All right. Remember that when we're treating an infection, to say that we're going to use an antibiotic is only used to treat bacteria. All right, great. So we want to just stop a little bit and look at leptopyrosis. And of course, leptopyrosis is also called the whale's disease. You might have seen that somewhere around the place. It's called whale's disease, and it is, of course, caused by a bacterium. Now, once it's caused by a bacterium, then it's only natural that it can be treated with antibiotic. So if you get to the exam and you know that this is an infection that is caused by bacteria, then immediately you can know that antibiotic is one of the things that we could use to treat it. Leptopyrosis is particularly important to us, though. The plague has been something that it has some long historical significance, but as it were, the plague now is not one of those big deal. But what is a big deal now is, of course, leptopyrosis. And leptopyrosis is something that affects persons, I think, probably every year, right? You might not know about the records, and if it's not treated, then the only answer to the disease is death. Now, how is it transmitted? It is transmitted by vector, and it, of course, rat, again, is very, very significant, as they were significant with the plague. It's usually called a great plague or something like that. Now, the urine from the rat is usually contaminated by the bacterium. Now, it's important to know that this urine can contaminate water. Once you say water, the urine can contaminate water. And the fleas that actually feed on the rat, they could also move this leptopyrosis from the rat to a human. Another thing you need to know, did I say that leptopyrosis is a zoonosis as well? Is that dogs can also have the leptopyrosis bacteria. And you know that leptopyrosis is a zoonosis, so it can move from one organism or from a lower class organism to human. Leptopyrosis could also be acquired in food. And that is why if you were supposed to go to the market or you are supposed to go to your farm or wherever, and there's a fruit that is ripe, but you observe that the fruit would have been eaten or partially eaten by something, do not try to consume that bit because it could be a rat and the rat might be infected. And if the rat is infected, rest assured, you are going to have that pathogen as part of your problem. Now, the leptopyrosis could also be transferred or transmitted in food. So when we talk about water, leptopyrosis, once it's water, we could have leptopyrosis in it. And usually, as it were for leptopyrosis, on your exam paper, the HSB paper, it's usually a picture diagram that they're giving you and asking you what is supposed to be done. Now, the question I'm going to ask before I move any further, how do you control or prevent that infestation of rat? We could set rat baits, we could set rat trap, but how do you do it at home? What are some of your practices to ensure that there is no rat at home? Tell me in the chat. While I wait for you to tell me in the chat, let me just continue. When you start, I will just look at there. When you have leptopyrosis, some of the likely thing that will happen is that you'll have a fever. You could end up with jaundice. You could end up with liver failure, kidney failure. Those things are possible. Now, you could do sterilization. Yes, that's a technique. So we won't have any breathing. So that could be done. So the signs for leptopyrosis is first that fever. Within a few days, you're going to be having that fever. And within about 2 weeks, you could become seriously ill. Somebody is saying getting a cat. If you get a cat, remember that is biological control. So you're using the cat to control the rat. That is, of course, biological control. Do not leave a dirty kitchen overnight. Don't do that. Because what you would be doing is to make available food for the rat and create an haven for contamination. Get a cat. That's all I grew up knowing about. Okay, once you get a cat, it's a biological control. Rat paste trap. So you have a rat paste trap that you can use, but ensure that you really don't come in contact, physical contact with the rat. Somebody says sterilization. Yes. Wash equipment with bleach and water before use. Yes, that could prevent the leptopyrosis stuff. You could do that as well. You could store food in sealed containers, basically starving the rat. Yes. Vaccination of domestic animal, that could be done as well. We could build houses with concrete floor. In some places where we still have mud floor, the rat will just come up, right, through the earth. And in some cases where we have board floor, the rat will definitely cut a hole through. So I want to have like houses that are built with concrete flooring or tile or whatever you want to call it. And in some cases we are building houses on stilt. And when we build them on stilt, you'll find that some persons put like a sheet of zinc around that prop foot, or if it's metal, so that rats really don't get up into the house, right? So you want to ensure, if you have trees that are close to your house, you want to ensure that the trees are all pruned and good distance from the house, that the rats will not come in. All right. So it's very, very important. Other than looking at the cat, you want to ensure that you're looking at your textbook, that you are looking at at the syllabus, at some of the recommendations to rid yourself of rats. Be reminded that there are some rats that would have become somewhat immune to the poison, the toxin that you will set there for them, the warfarin. They will not respond to it. So traps might work. And of course, should I say this? I should. If you find that you did not set any poison for the rat, and you woke up and you saw a dead rat outside, you should inform your Ministry of Health, because it is possible that this rat could be carrying the pathogen and the pathogen would have killed the rat. All right. So to control leptopyrosis, or to rid ourselves of leptopyrosis, is to destroy rats and rat breeding ground. Avoid possible contact with anything that is contaminated by a rat or with the pathogen. All right. And a lot would have been said in the chat there. I think I am on good time. I wanted to do half an hour looking at that. and I did do a summary in half an hour, which means that leptopyrosis, the housefly, leptopyrosis, rats, the housefly, mosquitoes, as it were, with dengue and malaria are contents that you should cover for the exam. We have not looked at scabies, we have not looked at typhus, so I'm going to be asking somebody if you could just get a typhus video online, a very short one, paste it in the chat and share with your friends, that would be good. If you can get something on scabies and paste it in the chat now, that would be good. We're not going to be looking at that because we really don't have the time to look at that. I also want something on the rat bat. All right. So you might see bats. So we want something on rat bat and the disease that they are associated with, which is of course rabies. So if you can get something on rabies, that is of course good. Paste it in the chat. I've said a lot of things. One person taking on one. We'll get to the end very quickly. So that being said, it is time for us to hop on into that CXC document. As I would have seen it, I won't say that it is a complete fix, but it is pretty much that which my interpretation of what was said. All right. It's a very tricky document, some would say. I was looking at one of my friends over there in Trinidad that teaches mathematics, and I followed what he said. And of course, if you are in the business for some time, you should be following as well. Now, I do hope that you have a pen or a pencil, a piece of paper, and if you have your syllabus, that would be good. Because what I'll be doing, I went through the document that was sent by CXC, I went into the syllabus, and then I looked at what we would have done, what we needed to do, what should be your interpretation, but I did it for biology first. We're going to be looking at human and social biology after we would have looked at what is expected for biology. All right, to control rat infestation, you should invest in mite rats in mint. I don't know, but that's interesting. Sorry. Okay. All right, that's fine. All right, great. So are we ready? We are now going to be looking at the broad topics as were released or leaked by CXC. I don't know by whom. I'm very sorry. I don't know if it is CXC. I'm very, very sorry. I shouldn't have said that. The broad topics that were leaked, and it is said, I don't even know if it is leaked. Might I say the broad topic that I received, right? I don't know if it was leaked. I don't have any facts that it was released by CXC. And it would be a very interesting fact for somebody to go on down and type up all of these subjects and have so much knowledge about them. This would have been a very, very good person. I've been teaching for quite some time now, and I know about some of the sciences, not so many. Some of these subjects I didn't even know that they were offered. So 10 topics they said will be tested. All right, so whatever they said would be tested, we're going to be looking at that, and I'm going to be switching over to another screen. I don't know that you can see it, but I'm going to be switching just that we can talk a little bit about what was said. So I am in another screen now, and I am looking at that document that was sent to me by a member of this family, and I do extend my gratitude for the document because I wanted to see this document pretty early that we can start the preparation and you can start the interpretation. So I am looking at the document, and if you're a student doing the alternative paper, paper 3 or paper 032, just raise your hand there or say hi, and let me just give you some information before we move forward. So if you are doing paper 3-2, the alternative paper, alternative to practical, just indicate so I can speak to you directly, and then I'll talk to the rest of the family. So while I wait for you, so 10 topics were sent from wherever I don't know, but we're assuming that it is from CXC. So we were told that we needed to know about nutrition, biotic and abiotic factor. Those are big topics. Food chains, predator-prey relationship, decomposers, treatment and control of disease. All right. how do we treat disease or we control disease? So if you're going to talk about treatment and control of disease, then you must know the disease. So that is a given. So you need to know about disease. We need to talk about transport. We need to talk about excretion. We need to talk about reproduction. And we need to talk about continuity and variation. 10 topics. But 10 topics is not like 1, 2, 3, 10 of Mr. Wilson's live. It's way more than 10 of Mr. Wilson live. So we're going to be looking at what will be expected of us. So I saw topics for biology in document called Decomposer. Could you explain? I will explain everything that is on both to the best of my knowledge. Just let me just clarify here. I am not going up against anybody's teacher. I'm a teacher like everyone. I'm not the keeper of knowledge. I share what I know to the best of my knowledge. Where there is new facts, I am guided by it, happily so. I do make mistakes like everyone, and when I do, I place the correction humbly in the description or in the comments below the video. So I am human like everyone. We would have done about 300 and something multiple choice questions, and we have had concerns about about six out of 3. And of the 6, I think I have concern about 2 or 3 of those, which I will present on them again later in the lesson. Sometime next month before the exam, I'll talk about them and give my final position on them. About 3 topics, nothing serious. All right, great. So nobody in this room is doing the alternative to practical. Great. No, it's not great. All right. So just let me remind us before I hop on over. Let me give you the space that my students don't like. I know you see these topics come, and you all feel all good that, wow, CXC is great this year. Just 10 topics I have to study. Don't be carried away. Please don't be carried away. You'll have to study the entire syllabus to ensure that you master the multiple choice paper. Remember, I said earlier in the show that you needed to do a minimum of 5 years past paper, probably a max of 10 years past paper, and about the same as it were for multiple choice for paper 2. Without further ado, let me hop right into the broad topics for biology 2021 as was outlined by the document we received Friday night into Saturday morning. So the first thing on that paper there was nutrition. Now, nutrition, as it were, is a very broad topic. Tell me in the chat what you think nutrition is. Tell me in the chat what you think nutrition is. Let us see if we're on the same playing field. What do you think nutrition is? And I'm hopping through some books here, and I'm going to be calling on you to tell me what books you're using, so I could probably go through the book and tell you from where to where we're expecting you to cover. All right, so what do you think is nutrition over there, somebody? No, I feel like the topics are too big. They're too big. They do us in a smart way. I didn't say that, you said it. All right. What do you think is nutrition? For you, what's nutrition? All right, it's taking a little long to come. So I want to touch nutrition first. All right, when we talk about nutrition, we talk about characteristic of living things. And that is one of the characteristics of living things. In order, they must be able to feed. So if we talk about nutrition, the process by which organism obtain, am I hit it on the head? Obtain or make food. So it means, therefore, for biology, you are expected to cover everything in photosynthesis, including the labs. All right? Reminder, good. Including the labs. So for nutrition, just let me just do nutrition And then I'll come to the other part and the fancy parts and so on. So for nutrition, we want to start out with photosynthesis and some things that we need to know. We have a lot of videos on the channel about photosynthesis. Might I say, when I was doing the animation for photosynthesis, I was changing water into carbon dioxide. I forgot to move the 2 for the subscript. So if you see C2O, that is wrong. It should be CO2, right? I was editing water to get carbon dioxide. I don't know if I press Control C or what, but I later watched the video and realized that there was an error. The formula there for carbon dioxide should be CO2. As it were, for water, the formula for water, H2O. So don't go around and say, Mr. Wilson said carbon dioxide formula is C2O. I would have corrected it in the description. And sometimes it's time consuming to make a video. So if we make an error, we'll just correct it down there. So every time you watch a video, look, whether it's my video or not, look down in the description if there's anything that you need to look at. Or look down in the comment if there's anything for you to look at. All right, great. Our nutrition involves, all right, great. A lot of things been said there. So for nutrition, the first thing I can recall from your syllabus, or if you want me to go to the syllabus, I'll go to the syllabus and tell you, is that you are supposed to look at saprophytic nutrition, autotrophic nutrition, and the other one is what? Heterotrophic nutrition. I was thinking about Holozoic. All right, which Holozoic come into heterotrophic. So when we start out nutrition any at all, the first thing that we spoke about, and I have a video on that, it's in the 35 that I've already put for biology. We have autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition, and saprophytic nutrition. Those are the 3 types of nutrition. And if you were here with me from day 1, you would have remembered us doing that video. The video is over there in one of Mr. Wilson Live. I'll try to label them properly so you can find it. Having looked at those 3 types of nutrition, then we got into photosynthesis, and we were supposed to talk about photosynthesis as to what it is, and we're supposed to look at like the phases of photosynthesis. Remember, for this live, you can just keep typing, answer to each other question, ask question, and persons will answer. So we have to look at what is photosynthesis. We have to look at the equation for photosynthesis, both the worded equation and, should I say, the formula equation, the one CO2, blah, 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 H2O. So you need to know both. Now, where you are knowing, where it's not the worded equation, and you are using the formula, you must be able to balance the equation. So study that equation so that you can balance it. It tends to appear on the multiple choice paper, not balanced, and sometimes we just look at it and quickly circle, not realizing that the equation is not balanced. If it's a worded equation, there's no need to balance it. Another thing that we needed to look at for nutrition there, we need to look at the phases of photosynthesis, the light dependent and the light independent. Yes, we have videos on those as well on the site. Then we need to look at the adaptation of leaves for photosynthesis. And you talk about leaf being flat, thin, how they are located on the stem, be that they are arranged in opposite, alternate, world, that type of a thing. The adaptation of a leaf for photosynthesis. And another thing we needed to look at for photosynthesis. Then another big diagram that we need to look at for photosynthesis, we need to look at the internal structure of the leaf. I just want to talk about one thing about the internal structure of a leaf. You might see the internal structure of a leaf on a diagram, and you might see, you know, we're talking about the vascular bundle. We might see a circle there being drawn with 2 little dots, or a dot, or 3 dots, or 4 dots. The one with the dot represents the phloem. All right, or the phloem, you might pronounce it differently. And the one without the dot represents the xylem. All right, and in some cases, persons are studying whether it is at the top or the bottom, depending on the orientation of the leaf. All right, so we need to know the internal structure of a leaf. We need to be able to identify the stomata. We're talking about animation. If it's not animation, annotation. If it's a biological drawing, it should be annotated, not just labeled, but annotated. Then we want to look pretty much, we could also look at the movement of water through the leaf, or we could actually look at the movement of air. That is something else you want to look at. And there's a diagram I would have seen on a biology paper some time ago with a fruit and identifying the fruit and some other stuff about that. If whatever biology book you are using, make sure you look at the diagram. Then you want to look at the fate of the product of photosynthesis. What happens to the products of photosynthesis? Now we're talking about things being converted to starch. We're talking about oxygen that leaves the animal and that leaves the plant, and the animal would use it for respiration, that type of a thing. We need to look at that as well. We need to look at the limiting factors of photosynthesis, and of course, limiting factors which would have include temperature, light intensity, carbon dioxide. Those are things for us to look at. Now, there is a question that usually comes with tropism, where the top of the plant is cut off there. And if you listen to one of my multiple choice paper, my multiple choice that I would have done, you would have heard the term etiolation, which is pretty much associated with photosynthesis. It would be nice if you get some content on etiolation. So once you would have mastered that for photosynthesis, then there are these labs that you need to look at. You need to look at, I have all these labs on my channel. You need to look at chlorophyll, the test for chlorophyll to see if chlorophyll is needed for photosynthesis. You need to look at the emission of oxygen, if oxygen is produced during photosynthesis. You need to look at the test for starch, chlorophyll. In some cases, I don't remember if I have a carbon dioxide. If carbon dioxide is of course needed for photosynthesis, all those are some labs that you can look at. I think I have even an animation there with the euglena, as it were, for response and photosynthesis. So if you go over to the back end of my channel, you can find all these 8 labs, or a copy of these 8 labs for the exam this year. All right, there might be many, but I know I did all the labs for photosynthesis. All right, let's move on. So after we would have done that, we are still in nutrition. Now we are going to be looking at the holozoic nutrition. All right, and holozoic under heterotrophic, 5-step nutrition, holozoic, ingestion, digestion. Remember those? And ends are somewhere there with egestion. Remember those? Assimilation, absorption. Remember those? Beautiful. So we're going to be looking at diet and nutrition. We're going to be looking at nutrients in nutrition, both plant and animal nutrient. And nutrient include our vitamins, our minerals, our macronutrient. We're going to be looking at what's a balanced diet and food group, malnutrition. We're going to be looking at obesity, and you'll take in some amount of diabetes there. You must look at diabetes for the exam. You must. And we're going to be looking at, of course, the teeth and how to care the teeth. So that's another important diagram for you to look at. We're going to also be looking at, so make sure you know the teeth. If you are, oh, this is not, we're not talking about HSB, no, biology. So make sure you know the teeth. Make sure you know about enzymes. Make sure you know about all the graphs that are associated with enzymes. Make sure you know the digestive system, and you can identify the various parts, the stomach, the pancreas, the large intestine, the small intestine. Don't go to the exam and just write large intestine and small intestine. Pay attention to the question and see what it is asking, whether it be the colon, the ileum, the duodenum, that type of thing. You are going to need to identify, if it's biology, you need to understand the iamic maneuver, as if somebody is choking, what you should do to deal with that. You need to understand the various parts of the digestive system. You need to know how they function. And of course, in some cases, if they don't function, what will happen? Knowing the enzymes is, of course, to know where they are found, the pH and all of that. I have something there on enzyme, but not pretty much, I don't think it's about where they are found. It's about pretty much how they function. And I hate to say they, because I need to remind you that enzyme is not really an organism, it's chemical. Enzyme, chemical, they are not organisms. All right, so don't say that the enzyme, the heat will kill the enzyme. The heat actually denatures the enzyme. Enzymes are not organisms. So we spoke about the villus, you need to know that. And of course, you need to know constipation, you need to know about the whole 5-step attack about holozoic nutrition. You need to know about constipation and diarrhea and all of that. All right, so if you would have done that, the topic that comes after nutrition is respiration, and respiration is not one of the big 10 topics. However, there is something that I was discussing with my fiance earlier that a lot of persons are going to ask: are we supposed to know digestion, and are we supposed to know osmosis, active transport, and diffusion? My answer to that is that you should know the entire syllabus. But hold one bit. Just let me be rational, as it were, for the topics that CXC sent. You must know about those three: osmosis, diffusion, active transport, because there's no photosynthesis without those. There's no digestion without those. So how you're going to be talking about digestion, or how you're going to be talking about nutrition, and you did not make mention of diffusion anywhere, you did not make mention of osmosis anywhere, you did not make mention of active transport anywhere. So yes, you have not seen it in the thing, but that is why we're here this evening, to pretty much interpret what was said there. All right, so having looked at nutrition, I am leaving the first part of the thing first, and I'm going to be looking now at transport. Forgive me, I am looking over here. I have the things written down how I wanted to present. I'm going to go back up to 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to treat with that in a bit. As it were, for disease and treatment, we started disease. As it were, for biology, disease and treatment in biology is not a big thing. I soon come back for you. I think that is the simplest one or the shortest one for biology. For HSB, it's a long thing. All right, so we're going to be looking at transport, as it were, for biology, as is on the paper. Now, if we're going to be talking about transport for biology, what quickly comes to mind is that we're going to be talking about the circulatory system. That's where we're going to start. Oh my, the noise. All right, so we're talking about biology on the broad topics. If you have not yet liked, share, or subscribe, remember that this is Mr. Wilson Live and the channel is CSEC Biology TCP. Click down there, subscribe, click the notification bell, select all so you'll be advised when there is a new publication. We are online on a Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, as time will allow or my engagement will allow, at 5:05 in the evening. If you see another thumbnail comes up that I'm having a class any other time in the week, it means that I am available then and I might not be available some other time. Now it's crunch time and we have to be preparing my kids at work for the exams while I assist you. All right, great. So we are now at transport. Now, transport is a big topic. I like to say probably it is two topics because we're going to be looking at transporting animals and we're going to be looking at transporting plant, as it were, for biology. So the first thing that when I think about circulation, the first thing that comes to my head is why a complex organism need a circulatory system and the amoeba does not need us. That is like almost on every biology paper. And for multiple choice, I know we're talking about surface area to volume ratio. Pretty much, I have a video on that. You can go on the channel and look at it. So we start out with that in circulation, and we're looking at circulation within human. We're going to be looking at the structure of the heart. We're going to be looking at the importance of circulation. We have videos on those. We're going to be looking at systole, diastole. We're going to be looking at the various parts of the heart. You know that the left ventricle, the right and the left and the heart has 4 chambers and 2 sides. We're going to be looking at that. We are also going to be looking at heartbeats, as it were, we talk about systole and diastole. You're going to be looking at the blood vessel. You're going to be looking at the capillary bed. You need to look at that. We did not look at, but I did answer in a past paper question, the lymphatic system. Biology, you need to look at the lymphatic system. You need to know the various blood vessels. You need to know the various blood vessels and the organ to which they take blood and remove blood. Just like how you need to know about the 5 blood vessels, which are arteries, veins, capillary, arteriole, and venules. All right, so we need to know them. The major ones are arteries, vein, and capillary. You need to know what the characteristics are, what they do. So you need to talk about structure and the function. All right, the structural design versus the function. You need to know that. We continue around and we should look at blood. All right, and I understand from teaching over the years, as it were, for blood, even though we read it and we were told and we study and whatever, we still get to that point where we're still confused as to what is blood. I asked some students earlier this week, what is it that we inhale? They told me oxygen. I asked them, what is it that we exhale? They told me carbon dioxide. So what I had to do, I had to teach and try to clear up that misconception that they taught me at primary school, that they taught you at primary school, and I had to explain why. All right. So, as it were, for that misconception as to the oxygen we're breathing, we actually breathe in air. What is air? Air is a mixture of which oxygen is a component. Now, the oxygen in the air is 21% thereabout, while the carbon dioxide is about 0.03% of the air. Now, like air is a mixture, so too the blood is a mixture. The blood is a mixture, and blood is not actually red. It is red as a result of the hemoglobin. Now, blood is a mixture that contains cells as part of the blood. So now, blood would contain erectocyte, might I use some fancy word? And it would contain the leukocytes, which would have been phagocytes and lymphocyte. Those are white blood cell, and you need to know the two different type of white blood cell. And then you would have like the thrombocytes, which are the platelets. You need to know those as well. You need to know about the blood clotting mechanism, how blood clot, why blood clot, that type of thing. I did do that, and there's a video on the. You need to know about blood group. Yes, and of course, you are going to need to know about hypertension, high blood pressure. What is high blood pressure? You need to know the role of the blood in defending the body against disease. I think I need to look at that. We need to look at the immune response. We need to look at immunization and control of disease. All right, so we need to look at that. That is disease, and we have to look at immunity, as immunity lies pretty closely with blood and defense. After we would have looked at that, then we have to look at transport in plants. And of course, big on the topic with transport in plants, you have to look at the xylem and the phloem vessel. Remember that the xylem is dead, the phloem is alive, the phloem has a companion cell, and you have to look at the structural design or the structural makeup versus its function. You want to look at that. It's very important that you have a good grasp of the vascular bundle. You want to know about the movement of water, and you want to talk a little bit about evaporation of water, osmotic pressure, how water is maintained in the plant, and water pressure and all of that. You need to do that as well. I didn't do everything here, so you need to visit your book for biology. I didn't cover all of this in our live. I did touch a part of it, but I don't know that I covered everything for plant. I covered everything for animal, but not everything for plant. And then we talk about the adaptation of plants to conserve water. You need to know that. You need to know about the xylem and phloem. So you need to know everything that is in your textbook, probably that is associated with the syllabus. Now, if we talk about transporting plant is usually associated with storage in plants, so food store, and then we are going to up on around to, I think, reproduction, and you might take in germination and all of that. So you realize that these big things that we are touching. All right, so you don't want to leave, depending on which book you are using, the storage. You don't want to leave the food storage. I will talk about food storage here. It is pertinent for both plants and animal, because when we talk about the fate of the product in photosynthesis, we could look a little bit at food storage. And we'll talk about things like the tubers, the corms, the bulbs, vegetable, all of that. What part of the plant this particular nutrient is stored, that type of thing. It goes right into food storage. So you really don't want to get that out. Now, if you are following in the biology for CSEC examination, the one by Lydia Atawu Ali, you would follow pretty closely what I'm saying. All that is needed. Now, after you would have completed transporting plant and transporting animals and food storage, then you want to get up into excretion. Now, excretion is going to be a nice topic. It is sort of straightforward. And the big diagrams here in excretion is, of course, going to be the excretory system, or one might call the urinary system, with the kidney and the bladder and the urethra, renal artery, renal vein. And then you want to get into the kidney. When you get into the kidney is another big diagram that you need to know for excretion. And inside that kidney, you have what is called a nephron. You need to know the nephron, its function, and all of that. Glomerulus and loop of Henle and collecting duct and proximal convoluted tube and blah, blah, blah. The list continues. All right. So you need to know all of that for excretion. All right. I talk about the nephron and all of that. You need to know about kidney failure. Right. And then if you are going to be doing excretion, then it's only natural that you're going to look at osmoregulation and the homeostatic responses. Let me just check here. Excretion. So you'll have to look at the homeostatic responses as well as it were for excretion. All right. So when you do excretion, make sure you cover the homeostatic responses and not only stop at the kidney and kidney failure. You need to go to osmoregulation. You need to go to homeostasis. You need to go to the feedback mechanism. All that needs to be covered. After you do that, then you will drop into movement. Movement is not in the broad topic, but movement could, of course, find itself on the multiple choice paper. So we've looked at transport, we've looked at nutrition, we have looked at excretion. Now, another big topic that we have to look at, as it were, for the broad topic is reproduction. Now, reproduction is going to be a really big topic, because it covers a couple of things that you probably would be overlooking, quite a number of stuff. So we're going to be looking at reproduction, as it were. We're going to look at sexual and asexual reproduction. We're dealing with biology now. Sexual and asexual reproduction and all the derivatives. We are going to look at reproduction in human reproduction and the reproductive system in man and woman. Of course, you need to look at the reproductive diagrams from different views in order to identify and label. You are going to look at hormones. That is going to be very, very important. You need to look at the menstrual cycle. That is usually a Google that they are bowling, because the menstrual cycle, we have videos on that. And of course, you can go to YouTube and type in the menstrual cycle and find ones that match your level of interpretation. We need to look at fertilization. We need to look at implantation. All those need to be looked at for biology. We need to look at the effect of drugs, drug abuse in pregnancy. We need to look at birth. We need to look at breastfeeding. We need to look at the role of contraceptives. We need to look at HIV and other STIs, as it were, and the social and economic implication of these. Now, we would have looked at that, and then we have to look at reproduction in plant, where we're going to be looking at the flower as a major organ that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at pollination and fertilization in plant, and we're going to be looking at seed dispersal. That pretty much falls under reproduction as well. So you want to ensure that you have a good grasp of that, seed dispersal. And then after that, we have disease. We have another part of disease. Remember, we looked at some disease when we're looking at circulation. Then we are going to have disease, which is a very short thing for you. So you're going to be looking at health and disease, type and control of disease, types and control of disease, which appears in a table in that particular book I named just now. Of course, you're going to look at the pathogenic disease for biology. So you're going to be looking at mosquito, and you're going to be looking at dengue, malaria, that type of thing. You have to look at the social and economic impact of disease, and you're going to look at the implication for human of disease in plants and animals. So you need to look at both diseases. Then, after we would have done that, finished disease, you could follow straight in your book, because you're going to have, I think, reproduction, disease, continuity, and variation. They come one behind the other. So it's going to start out with mitosis and meiosis, and you need to be able to identify all the phases there. And then you are going to look at the replication of chromosome. You need to be able to define a chromosome, which most persons find pretty difficult. You are going to have mitosis, and of course, mitosis as it relates to asexual reproduction. You look at binary fission, vegetative propagation, artificial propagation with cutting and grafting and so on. You're going to be looking at cloning, and you have to look at the advantages and disadvantages. It doesn't stop there. It continues into meiosis, and we look at meiosis and all the associated things with meiosis. Neither does it stop there, because we are going to continue now to look at heredity and genetics. That is where we are going to be looking at the genes and the allele and the dominant, and the questions that usually fall somewhere between 50 and 60. So we are going to be looking at 50 and 60 and the multiple choice. Looking at the inheritance, so we look at test cross, inheritance of dominance, codominance, sex-linked inheritance, inheritance or sex determination, pedigree chart, that type of thing you have to look at. It doesn't stop there. This is a very big topic. It continues into variation, where we talk about environmental and genetic variation and all that is associated with that. You have to look at the importance of genetic variation, DNA testing. You have to talk about natural and artificial selection. That must always be covered. Those are usually found on every multiple choice paper. Where once you reach number 50, there about 49, 50, it will be on the paper. The questions are genetics. Anybody who go through the past paper will see that. Then we cannot exclude mutation, and cannot exclude genetic engineering. Genetic engineering, you cannot exclude genetic engineering. Now, mutation, as it were, you have to look at sickle cell anemia, and you have to look at Down syndrome. And remember that Down syndrome is chromosome 21, and Down syndrome is also called trisomy. So you have to look at that for biology. You have genetic engineering, and we have to look at the implication, everything that goes to genetic engineering. And once we would have done genetic engineering, that would have been the nutrition, transport, excretion, reproduction, disease, continuity, and variation. I don't know if you realize that it's just about 2 topics in the syllabus that we have not touched. We have not touched about 3. We haven't touched movement. We haven't touched sensitivity and coordination. We did not touch respiration. Remind me if there are any other topic outside of those 3 topics that we did not touch, having looked at the broad topics for CXC. I think the 3 topics that we didn't touch is, like I said, sensitivity and coordination, respiration, and movement. I think those are the 3 topics out. Don't quote me on it. I did not check everything, and I don't remember everything off the tip of my head. But from what I can see, it seems that's what we have touched, as it were, for paper 2. So we can just say it's just about 3 topics, we won't be on it. You could check. I don't have the facts. That could be. Now, this other part of the paper is going to require you to up on into your syllabus, and I might just go over to the syllabus. Section A. In section A, which covers 2 to 5 in your bullets, which looks at biotic, abiotic factors, food chains, predator-prey relationship, and decomposers. Somebody asked me to look at decomposers. That is going to come from section A of your syllabus, 2.2 to 7.1. 2.2 to 7.1. So let me just up on into decomposers. I had something here for section B, 2.1 to 2.11. Just let me look at the syllabus to see what I wanted to look at there. Decomposers are organisms which pretty much break down organic content to release trapped nutrient. So if you are going to be looking at, I need to look at it rather than just telling you. If you are going to be looking at decomposers, you must look at the carbon cycle. It is a must. All right. So I'm just going to be telling you the topics here, as it were, for the first part, the section A, that has to do with just let me look again. That has to do with, I'm going to be telling you now about, I'm not in the room, so if you ask a question, I can't see you, all right? I am over in another software, but I'm sure that you should be able to hear me. All right. So the part that deals with biotic and abiotic factor, those are really big topics, right? It's not just as it's a biotic and abiotic factor. Food chain, predator-prey relationship, decomposer, those are big topics. So I'm going to be looking at what we're supposed to do. Remember, osmosis and diffusion, active transport are also a part. So it is really a big thing, nothing for us to go celebrating about, just to make sure that we're studying already, and we're just going to pick up the pieces and move on. So I looked at the paper, as it were, for specific objective 1.1 to 1.2 to 2.1. I don't know that is captured, but of course you would have to know that to 2.1. I don't know that you would have to know that for the paper 2, but you must know it for paper 1. But if you study for paper 1, do not dump the information. You're going to need it for paper 2. So as it were, for section A 2.2, we are going to distinguish between the following periods of term, and we talk about ecology and all of those stuff, niche and all of those stuff. And it is within this that we have the first appearance of abiotic and biotic factors, where we start to look at ecology. So the nice thing here is to look at ecology and have a good grasp of it. Now we have population and species and so on, and all of these are influenced by biotic and abiotic factors, and that is why it is fair to say that 2.2, we are going down, discuss the impact of abiotic factor. We have to look at soils again, we have to look at water and climate. So everything there in ecology we have to look at. 2.3 for biology. Now we're at 3.1. Identify the related position of producers in the food chain. So you see we're coming down nicely with the abiotic factor and so on. So if you are looking in the syllabus for biology, we started here for this section that covers from bullet 2 to 5 on the broad topics that we got. Number 1 there was nutrition. We covered nutrition already. Now we are looking at 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we say 2, 3, 4, and 5 is nicely captured from specific objective 2.2 to 7.1. So we are going through it with you now. 3.1, identify the relative position of producers and consumer in the food chain. Then you are supposed to 3.2 want us to identify from each habitat a food chain containing at least 4 organisms. So you see everything there in ecology. Identify the form of habitat, so 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, 4.1, energy flow, 5.1, which look at the carbon cycle. One might say, how did Mr. Wilson get to the carbon cycle? It says, explain with example the impact of continual reuse of material in nature. And then it continued to say, note the role of decomposer in the carbon cycle. Refer to specific objective A 3.6. So you see that the syllabus, it's big. You have to know the carbon cycle. Then we continue on down to 5.2, discuss the importance and difficulties of encountered in recycling manufactured material. Here again, you will have to look at decomposers. Well, this is not so much about decomposer, but as it were for recycling, if you were supposed to look at a compost heap, then that would take in some decomposers. So of course it is applicable here. Discuss the impact of human activity on natural resource. Human is of course going to be anthropogenic impact, and that of course could affect natural resource. So we don't want to leave that out. Explain the negative impact of human activity on the environment. I would go on into these with my students. I wouldn't just leave it up at 5.2. I'll continue into 6. Assess the impact of pollution on marine wetland. And of course, this again will take in food chain and food web. This again will take in decomposers and all of those predator-prey relationship and all of that. Discuss the current and future trend regarding climate change. And climate is of course going to be a biotic factor. Suggest means by which environment could be conserved, and restored. All right, so all of these I think would be topic pertinent for us to look at, and then we think we'd end now at 7.1, where we discuss the factors that the group. All right, this is one that I tell you that I think that is why we have to stop here. It said discuss factors that affect the growth and survival of population, including human. Now, any population will grow or not grow based on biotic and abiotic factor. So that is why I think it stops right at 7.1. And then after 7.1, we're going to go into B, which is, of course, life processes. And life processes, you know, would have started. Cells are not included. Oh, yes, the up over the topic cell. You see, there are some little things I didn't remember. There are some things that are not covered. And I think the things that are not covered, we'll find most of them in life processes. All right, so that for me is pretty much an interpretation of what is supposed to be covered for the biology syllabus. Like I have said, I have already created a playlist for 2021 for biology, and I've tossed over there 35 of my videos. I'll be putting some more lives over there, and if time will allow me, I will include other videos there that should help you to prepare for the exam. It is still early time for you to score a 1 in the exam, even if you have never done biology before. All right, so that pretty much wraps up biology. As it were, for the broad topics, you are going to realize that a whole lot of broad topics there were pardoned, where some of the life processes, things that we would have covered in life process, were pardoned somewhere there. And for the first part of the ecology, you might want to look at the first part of the ecology that deals with sampling and so on. Now, remember that you'll have to do all the food tests. So let me remind, not the food tests, all the labs. Let me remind you of the labs. All right. So if we're looking at paper 2 and the labs that are likely on paper 2 are all the labs for photosynthesis. Your ecology lab could appear for paper 2. We did not do respiration, but you could see respiration on the multiple choice. You could also see your continuity and variation. Your genetics lab could also be there. Your planning and design lab, whichever one they could toss a planning and design there. Germination could be there. Enzymes could be there. Food tests could be there. Pretty much, I think pretty much that's it, if I can remember everything. But if you don't know, just go on over to my channel and go to biology experiment, and you'll of course find the playlist of the labs that are expected to be completed for 2021. All the labs are there in keeping with those that your teacher would have presented. I'm going to also put together a playlist for the labs that you are expected to know for HSB. All right, there are some processes that we did not look at, but you need to know them. So now I'm going to up on over to HSB. And because HSB seems to be a little more straightforward, I did not prepare a script for HSB, but I'm just going to be scrolling on down through the thing here from CXC, and then I'll try to do the interpretation as to what is expected for us to know for HSB. So I move on down to that part of the syllabus to look at human and social biology. All right, great. So I am on that part of the syllabus, and we're now looking at human and social biology. Now, this is very, very easy if you ask me. If you have a copy of the human and social biology syllabus, which you can get online by just typing in the human and social biology syllabus, make sure it is not this new syllabus, because the new syllabus is only applicable to those persons who are in grade 10 now. So there are 6 broad topics that they would have sent. One here being living organism and the environment. Just like it is said here, is the same way it is on the syllabus. All right. So if you are looking in your syllabus, which you should be using to study, life processes and the environment is the first thing in the syllabus. Just follow everything that it says. It's not pretty much like it would have been for the biology, for the HSB textbook. Now you have to follow the syllabus. Then you have the skeletal system. Yeah, the skeletal system is everything from the skeletal system to you're going to be looking at voluntary action, involuntary action, and what's the other one? I don't know. This is a night time of the evening. It's usually very miserable this time of the evening. I don't know what he's going to be doing that for some time. All right, just give me 1 second. I'm trying to find something here for you. Great. All right, so just let me have through skeletal system. Yeah, I'm going to go through the skeletal system. And of course, the skeletal system would include your joints, your bones, your cartilage, your ligament, that type of a thing. Remember that the skeletal system is divided into 2. The axial and the axial and the, I'm asking that you answer. All right. So when you go to the skeletal system, I can talk to you now. When you go to the skeletal system, and we talk about the skeletal system is actually divided into, they might say 2 sets of nerve. They divided into CNS and PNS. All right. Now remember, I like to say this. CNS is of course the brain and the spinal cord, while PNS is the nerves. What I would say cranial and peripheral nerve is the nerve. Once you say that, it's the nerve. Now, so we want to look at the skeletal system. You must be able to identify the upper arm, as it were, the bones, the muscles that are associated with it, and that which has to do with antagonistic muscle. All right, you need to know that. I know that is on the syllabus. You need to be able to identify a long bone, and of course, you need to be able to identify cartilage, ligament, tendons, muscles, voluntary muscle, involuntary muscle. You need to be able to talk about the cardiac muscle, how muscle contract. You need to be able to do that. You need to be able to identify and label the parts of a joint and the types of joints. You also need to be able to talk about the point of insertion and the point of origin. I did that on some paper. I don't know which one. I don't even know if I published it. I still have a paper 3 to publish. So I didn't see coordination and control. I didn't see that. I don't know. I don't know if it will. It's going to touch body posture. That is very important for you to look at posture and all those various action I spoke about, voluntary and the many other types of action there. You need to look at those. All right. So the skeletal system for me, it is very easy. Ask me, it is a very fair ask because it's a very short topic to cover. And then now you have to cover excretion and homeostasis. It's a little bigger for HSB than it is for biology. And you're going to be looking at some chronic lifestyle disease and diabetes, hypertension, some of those stuff you'll have to cover. Now, as it were for reproduction, you're going to cover everything under reproduction. You don't have germination and so on. So follow your textbook or follow your syllabus. Menstrual cycle, birth control, diseases that are associated with reproduction, you want to look at those. And we have videos on lives that we did on that, so we are not going to revisit. You can go and watch. As it were for heredity and variation, we have covered a lot on that. And of course, you also need to know about genetic engineering and recombinant technology. Both classes need to know about genetic engineering, as it were, for insulin. I have seen in the past people where they were asking about the golden rice, or about rice. It was about the golden rice production. I answered that on a past paper, and I know it's out there somewhere. So you can look at the paper too that I've answered that on. The reproductive system. So we talk about heredity. The diseases that we are looking at now, we started a big thing, and we are going to be covering everything on disease because we always know that disease is a big thing for HSB. The other thing is that we haven't covered or started looking at this yet is the impact of health practice. Yeah, we're going to look at hygiene starting Wednesday. We're going to be looking at hygiene, and then we're going to be looking at water and sewage disposal. That comes up next. We have drugs to look at. We have drugs to look at, and we have hygiene to look at. Those are going to be very fast classes, and you want to be there for those classes. So pretty much, we still have some work to do for 5, which has to do with disease and impact on human, and we still have everything to do in 6. We have not done that with Mr. Wilson Live as yet. Now, like I said, what is on the syllabus, what is on the broad topic here for HSB, it is as it is on the broad topic. That's the exact interpretation for the, it's the exact interpretation for the textbook or for the syllabus. Now, living organism and the environment, that is like the entire section A of your syllabus. So don't go and say celebrate. We have 5 and we have 6 on biology. Would have 10. Of course, the content is pretty much the same weighting, and it's going to take in all those. It's going to take in all those labs that you were supposed to do. Some of these labs you would have seen me done them on past paper, and that is how we are going to get it done. So, having looked at that and what will be on the exam and how to interpret what is on the exam, I must now say to you, I would have given you some past papers, multiple choice, from January. And I told you that exam preparation is 4 months. But if you start now, you still can get there. Your focus now is going to be on practicing some paper 2, studying some more, locking down those multiple choice, finding your study partners, Start contest answers that person's put out there, but make sure that you are reading when you're contesting. Don't just go up and just talk any little thing and let persons waste time. Because even if I did a research and put something out there, or even if it's something that I know for 12 years, and somebody, there's a contest, I am going to look it over, I'm going to read it over, I'm going to answer you, and even after I answer you, I'm going to continue to go through the content to see, is there any way that it could be anything else? I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So it takes me some amount of time. I don't just say, no, that is not it. I am the keeper of knowledge, you're wrong. No, even if I tell you today that I am not accepting your answer, I still continue to revisit the content. Yes, yes. That is how you are going to get better as a student and as a teacher. All teacher should invite respectful challenge from students. All teachers should invite respectful challenges from students. No teacher should be afraid for a student to challenge him or her. If you're a teacher and you made a mistake, a child should be comfortable to say, sir, miss, I don't think that is correct. Probably you want to do that. When I was doing early science like you, I could tell my teacher that this is not right. Check page 25. I knew my textbook like that, right? I am that type of person. When if I have something that I love, I really invest a lot of time in it. Now, a lot of persons here are destined for an A. Over the weekend, I had words with my other half, and I was telling her how grateful I am for this opportunity to serve you guys. I've been teaching for quite some time, and might I admit, there are parts of the syllabus I have never ever touched, never touched for an entire class. So you might touch this for this class and you never touch it for that class. But as it were to cover the entire syllabus for one class, I have never done it. I have never done it. Fortunately, I have done it with you, and I'll be doing it with you. So you understand that there are some content that probably I wouldn't have touched for a little while, but with you, with that inquisitive spirit, with that fact that you're always here waiting on me, with that thing that you want to learn, it causes my fire to blaze. And any teacher who would have students who want to learn, that teacher will become smarter, that teacher will become sharper, that teacher will want to come to work. But if you are teaching students who really don't care, if you are teaching students who are not blazing the fire, and you try to blaze some fire and they throw water on it, it might not be as encouraging. Mr. Wilson, can you share a file in the comment with some paper, one past paper, please? If you're asking that, it means that you're not a subscriber. It means that you are new to the channel. So being that you are new to the channel, what we do here is to teach persons how to fish. All those past papers, I don't know if I'm going to answer what you're saying, but if I'm not answering what you're saying, you can ask in the group and somebody will assist you. We have about 5 or 6 past papers, multiple choice, current multiple choices I would have had. They're on my back end of the channel. And we have some paper 2 HSB that's on the back end of the channel. To get to the back end of the channel, the left of your screen over there below the video there, you'll see a blue round icon that says CSEC Biology TCP. Click on that icon, go to the back end of the channel. If you go to playlist, you'll see either HSB past paper or bio past paper, whichever one you want to. As it were to propagate like CXC blank past papers, I can't do that. For me to answer the question and share with you, it is a different level of intellectual rights than for me to propagate the paper, the CXC paper. Understand? I can't say I am sending you blank documents. I really don't have the rights to do that. All right? But to share with you the answered paper, that's something different. It's a whole different ball game. All right? However, I can ask you for paper. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can answer for paper. Persons share things with me, like, sir, can you answer this paper for me? And as time allow, I will do it and publish. All right, so I have been doing that. For most cases, the paper that I have are papers that were supplied to me by students. I will try to answer them to ensure that we satisfy the needs. All right. So back to what I was saying, I am truly grateful you would have given me this opportunity to serve. I remember in the early days when I had it was Otisha. Otisha was always here. If it was one student, it was Otisha. When we were trying the OBS software, when we were having a whole lot of issues in the early part of the game, Otisha was here. If I was trying the software, Otisha was there. I could say, Otisha, what's happening on your side? And she was there. I haven't seen her for a while, except I saw her. She's here. See her there in the chat right there. So, touching coordination and control. Otisha was always here. And then there are Amoy and other persons I could call Macmillan, I could call Jawawan, and a whole lot of other names. I remember, yes, Tanisha, we spoke about you too. We remember in the journey. We remember that when Tanisha came on in the early days, when we just started out like with the grade 10 content, and Tanisha said to us, is this a grade 9 class? And I was like, damn, I want to teach this student. You know, this student is ahead of time. And then as we traveled, I remember that we were pushing some content and Tanisha was sort of a little slow on the content. I was, yeah, this is a real student. Some content you are going to be very good with, and there are some content that will, of course, challenge you. And we really liked what happened. I have never seen anybody responding to any of my videos and responding in a negative way. Respectfully, they usually ask, sir, can you do this? What you think about this and that type of a thing. So we're really, really grateful. I am really, really grateful to have had the opportunity to share with you. We have been here for almost a year sharing in the content. Starting next month, we have to now go back to grade 10, and I'll now have to now be looking at the grade 10 student, as it were, for HSB with the new syllabus and, of course, the SBA that HSB now has. Now, that is going to be interesting because I might be using a video. I know a nice location in Jamaica. We might have to use a video. And I would suggest to my teachers who are doing pollution, I know from time to time I have persons on, I have teachers on my channel. If you're going to be doing pollution as your SBA, please start teaching from disease to the environmental factor. Teach that part of the syllabus first so that the SBA can start in grade 10 and the students will have good knowledge as to what to do. So once with the new syllabus and the SBA, if you are going to be doing pollution, start teaching the syllabus from disease, and it will give the students a better chance of mastering the SBA. I think it's a nice SBA for those persons who don't know. I also teach environmental science. So you understand that HSB fits nicely, as it were, for the environmental aspect in environmental science. But like I say, I can't stop saying this bit. I am really, really grateful for the opportunity to have had the opportunity to share a little of what I know with you and to learn a lot of what you know. I have never, well, I've had students from Colombia, I've had students from Cuba. I would have taught students locally from those islands or from those countries. But of course, I have had here, just tell me if I'm leaving out anybody. I've had students from Guyana, Otisha and Tanisha, they were always here. I have students from Trinidad, which is one of our biggest consumer. I have students from St. Vincent. I have students from Grenada. Tell me, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. I've had students from right across the Caribbean sharing in what we do. We were able, we started out the 12th of September last year. And when we started out the 12th of September last year, my partner was sort of laughing at me because I am a teacher. And when I started out, I was trying to pretty much find something to vlog on because I'm always reading, always doing things like that. And I remember I was upstairs one night and I was like introducing myself and practicing out this vlog thing, practicing. And she was there laughing at me, just said that something. And I decided then I wanted to do something in education. I wanted to give persons a voice in education that did not have a voice. And we started out doing that. listen to putting some art topics out there. Persons who are responding to these art topics. Jamaica is always big in the business. Putting some art topics out there. Went on the road, listened to what person had to say, and then at one point I think that this was too much to me, too much for me, and it wasn't fitting into this student dream. And then we started. I don't even know how I started vlogging education. But I know I got up some morning and I started doing, I started characteristic of living things. And I put my best in characteristic of living things. And that video became a major success for my channel. Characteristic of living things in no time. We reached 1,000 views. We reached a whole lot of watch hour with characteristic of living things. And that video is still doing well. It was our best video then. And then we continued and we continued and then we started our little blogging thing. And we didn't have the numbers. Nobody knew me. Person had to start knowing me. And then we were lucky. Persons were saying that YouTube is saying that you have 9 months in which to become a part of the partner program, which is not doing so well for us. Persons watch the video, but we're not getting as much love as we could. We wish we could get some more love, but we continue to work. And then I think within 3 months, we were able to reach 1,000 subscribers. And then pretty shortly thereafter, we reached 4,000 watch hours. And then when I reach 4,000 watch hours, I'm up from 3 o'clock every morning reading. So I saw it. This thing come in, I reach it, and I immediately apply for the partner program. They said the partner program would have taken some time. I applied this morning, 5 o'clock, and by tomorrow morning, I am on the program with advertisement. And I'm like, they said that it would have taken a long time. All my videos were reviewed. I think I got 2 videos that were flagged, but nothing was wrong with it. One of the videos that was flagged, you know which one it was? Sex, inheritance of sex. And the software determined, pretty much thought that it was something that was a lewd, and I had to appeal to YouTube for them to overturn that, and it was overturned, and the video is nice on the channel. So in 3 months, almost going into 4 months, we're able to monetize. Having been monetized, we haven't been getting enough love, so we haven't been getting any money. We haven't gotten we don't have no money. I have not made $50 from this channel ever since I started. I have not. So I am doing this thing like free. I don't make no money at all doing this. All right. So then we started and I continued and we built some videos and we thought that we needed to get the content out faster because I couldn't have built video to reach everyone. So we realized that we couldn't have built video to complete the syllabus. We decided that we were going to do lives. And then we started with our lives and we had Tanisha who make up our face over there. So now we had Otisha and then we have Macmillan and then we had some persons who were coming in. We had the Jamaicans and so on. We have some persons who came and some persons who left and some persons who were always here. And they were here with us and they were carrying us and they were sending us past paper. I might big up yourself. I might start asking past paper. I think I might probably send my first set of past paper. So do this. And we started that and then there was a little fear in the background. I don't know if anybody knew that. There was a little fear in the background as to what if my English was off? What if my pronunciation was off? What about the enunciation? What about the punctuation and all of that? And yes, I've had them, but what I realized is that that was just me. That's a brand for me, right? There are times when I'm talking and I am doing pretty nice, and then there are times when I'm patois, English, that type of thing. And the content I tried at in most instances, or all instances, is to ensure that the content was accurate. When the English was a little off, the content was accurate. And what I like is that you accepted me for who I am. All right. So we continue to do better. We started out with animation. Animations are there. You can go and over and look at the experiment. Like I say, I am overwhelmed. I feel like this is like graduation. I feel like I am preparing, to just like CXC going to start tomorrow. Right? So I feel that type of way, but I am really, really overjoyed. I'm really happy. I met persons from right across the Caribbean, persons I don't even know. I'm not a geography or social study person, right? And I've never left Jamaica. Never. I am not a phone person. If you read a lot, you don't do phones. So I read a lot, so I don't do phones. I really don't know much. I usually ask my students, what's trending, right? So I am very, very grateful. I'm going to stop saying that now. I am very, very grateful. You gave me this opportunity. I'm very, very grateful that you helped to gauge me. When I was out, there was some time when I had some downtime. I might not tell you what does that mean in the back end, but there were times when I had some downtime and I was not able to engage you. I might probably put up a live and have to take it down back because something is just not right on my side. When we started out, also, I think this is one of the things. I was trying to reach a lot of Jamaican students because they were not engaged. Some of my students, I weren't seeing them. I wasn't seeing them, and because I wasn't seeing them, I thought that it was expensive for them to go on the school platform. So if they tried YouTube, it's offered. I knew it would have been cheaper using YouTube. Before the phone companies did that, I said the phone companies must have sense. It must be cheaper. And then lo and behold, it was easier to access the content on YouTube than to go on one of those other platforms, right? And I am grateful for the telephone companies for that. I do hope that somebody will see our hard work and will get a sponsor. I probably can get a pretty brand shirt to wear and a new computer. If I push this computer screen, you might see it black out. So I have to start right to ensure. I saw somebody sent me something earlier and they were saying that one of the OBS video that we sent out, it was blur. I do apologize for that, but we don't have any fancy gadget, you know. It's just that we have a little computer and we like teaching, we like the content, I would like the student. I will try to continue to send out the content, hoping that things will get better and we can send out nice video. Okay, so when Otisha, Tanisha, Macmillan, Grant, Nemard, Felix, Gray, Cheryl, let me just call out the name because I'm not even to Burnett. Fergus, I'm not too sure who is Fergus, but I'm going to call out the names as much as I can. It could be Ferguson, I don't know. Petra, Williams. Oh, Creek is here. Big up yourself, Creek. I haven't seen you in a while. Macmillan, Lawrence, Shaw, Miller, Cray. Let me go and show Martin. Nemar, did I say that already? Vibe. Powell. More. And the list go on and on. When all of you pass, I am very sure you are even going to make me happier when you come on and say, sir, I got this, I got that. I do hope that I am still around to enjoy the success and to tell the story. I wish for you all the best. And rather than complaining about COVID, the real world has no space for reasons. The real world has no space for reason. The real world deals with result. So don't go tell us the reason why you failed. Don't tell me the reason why you passed. Tell me about you passing. The real world has no space for reasons. The real world deals with result. Good evening. I hope to see, I think in Jamaica we're going back to school tomorrow, the CXC students. Is it so? I see Creek here, you want to tell me? All right, probably you want to say something to me before you leave. You can say that and then we can cut. That's going to be the end of the show for today. I again will give you this whole heap of things that I am overwhelmed because I'm truly overwhelmed. I'm truly overwhelmed. Creek, do we go back to school tomorrow? All right, I'm going to be checking my mails now, and I'm going over to mark some book now. Oh, Wednesday. Oh, so Creek is saying that we go back to school Wednesday. Wednesday is what date, Creek? Because the SBAs are due on the 14th, I was told, or something like that. Can anybody tell me when SBA is due? When's the SBA? When we should the SBA? Oh, I'm humbled, Atisha. Okay, Amoy, that is, oh, some student going back to school tomorrow. All right, so we have to get in those grades for SBA. And of course, I really want persons to be doing well for SBA. Remember, guys, that we have no time to waste now. Our last week of class is going to be on we're going to have about 2 classes on Zoom so that we can get to meet everybody and say hi and bye and next year and all of that. So we're going to have a face-to-face where we can see everybody and that type of a thing. All right, so some persons are going back to class. I do hope that my friends in St. Vincent, they are faring better. And those persons who have been affected by COVID, I do hope that things are getting much better for you and you're getting ready to go back to work and you're not afraid. Don't be afraid. Face the world. Whatever comes, comes, and deal with the rest after. You all can pass. CXC would have given you the broad topic. Put in the work. Remember, I told you about my 500 pack? I always have a lot. I'm always writing. All right. So these are all papers that I write on, and I have a little book that I'm writing. I wrote a book recently. I wanted to do, and I always have my stapler. So I'm here and I just write what happened. I have a book. I have a little book that I'm writing. Hopefully, I can have it published next year. It tells about my life and the struggle, but it is told in a story. You won't see Mr. Wilson's life or Miss. You would have to read and find my life in the lines there. All right, it's pretty much trying to find something, and I've likened it to a Jamaican fruit that most persons don't know. So I'm trying to find that thing in the book. It's a Jamaican fruit that is pretty much grown at very high elevation. Most persons in Jamaica don't know it, and it appears to be one fruit when it's another fruit. So it's pretty much that in the book. I wrote it, I sent it off for some editing. I still need to get some editing, and I still want some sponsor. Go on. Me I chat know too much. You know, go on. See you on Wednesday. Take care. Wednesday. Wednesday we're going to food hygiene or drug abuse. Right? Where we're going to look at, if we're doing drug abuse, we might start out looking at the physical and physiological effect of drugs. Those are things that we have seen on past paper. We're going to be going a little faster, and as much as possible, we're going to be giving you a video. Don't move. Just let me give you a video before you move. I want to give you this so you can start looking at it. I think I gave it to the HSB student the other day. Just give me a sec. I'm trying to retrieve the video. All right, so YouTube is going to be your best friend now, as it were, for your exam preparation. You are going to look for the shortest and the best video that you can relate to. Pack them into, light them so they can pack into that file on your back end, and you can go and watch them. Now, studying should be nothing more than fun now. You're going to be having fun. Remember your 500 pack of paper. You want to have it right and master it. Have somebody that you call to talk about what you want to talk about, as it were, for the content. Do not try to study and think you know it alone. If there's somebody that is weak, that wants to come, keep it going and keep it together. If you find somebody that is weaker than you and they're interested in growing, take them and carry them along. If you find somebody that is brighter, I expect Otisha and Tanisha, they are from the same island. I expect them to link up and things like that. And of course, treat with the content. Remember, you can email me in the back end if there's something you want to talk about that everybody shouldn't hear. Remember not to send your phone number and things like that here. Good evening. I'm going to run on to something new now. Get some other bookwork finished. Take care. Bye-bye.